Welcome to the After Chat. I'm Michael.
I'm Madison.
And today we are going to be talking about redemption.
Ooh.
There we go. You ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the After Chat. Real questions. Real talk. Real life.
What's been the highlight of your week thus far?
Well, right now it's a Wednesday, so we're only about halfway through. Something better might pop up, but I'm home safe. I was traveling on vacation for the past 2 weeks. I got to go visit my husband.
Huzzah.
We went basically from the top of the UK all the way down to the bottom. So I've had a very busy 2 weeks. Got to see a lot of pretty things. But that was all last week. So it's like kind of a bittersweet highlight for this week because it's sad, hard to say goodbye. Hopefully he'll get to move here very soon. We'll see. Please, government, please. But I'm back safe, and I missed home, and I missed being at work. So I'm excited to get back into the flow.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
Well, we've missed you.
Thank you.
And we're glad to have you back.
Thanks. What about you?
So this past weekend, we had a birthday party for my oldest daughter. She turned 17.
Oh,
And her little cousin who turned 5. So we had a little joint birthday party there at the house.
that's really precious.
And did a cookout and all the things, and it was super fun. And so that was
Nice.
that was a very fun time having everybody over.
Nice.
So big time fun.
Big time fun. I
Big
love
time
that.
So we're gonna be talking about like things from our past
Yes.
that have been redeemed. So sometimes that can take the form of something like, you've heard the saying, one of these days we're going to look back at this and laugh about it. So was there a childhood mistake that you made that you can laugh about now?
So this memory is kind of a little fuzzy to me. I think that it was my mistake, but it also could have been my mom's. I'm not sure. But either way, as a family, we laugh about this now. It was my sister's birthday, and we have like a family tradition for birthday cakes. We always do this like particular recipe that is red velvet cake with like this really good cream cheese frosting, and it's delicious. It's
Everybody,
just
across the board.
just for our family unit growing up.
Okay.
My mom, my dad, my sister, and I, that was like what we did for birthdays. And the only time that we ever made this cake that we all loved was for birthdays. So like we hung a lot of high hopes on this cake being good because we only got it 4 times a year. And of course, like 2 of the birthdays are in the spring and then 2 of the birthdays are in the fall. So you get like 4 cakes, but lots of empty time in between them to want these cakes. Anyways, we forgot to put the sugar into the cake. So it was just not good. And the entire family was just deflated for the rest of the day. We were like, and now our favorite thing that we get to enjoy together is completely ruined. But we all laugh about it now, and it's a really funny memory.
Love it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was my fault. I was the one baking the cake that year, but who knows? Maybe it wasn't me. What about you?
So I grew up I spent the first portion of my childhood in this little village I mentioned before in southern Illinois. And it has like 400 people like total that live in it.
Very small town.
Very small town. Well, one summer was very bored and decided that I was going to just start randomly dialing local numbers and doing prank phone calls and telling people that they had been selected in a contest to win a slush puppy machine where you could make like slushies at home.
This, which sounds like the way to like hook a Midwestern person, is a slush puppy machine.
I was in the 3rd grade. What do you get? I didn't have a whole lot of imagination on how I was actually going to trick people. But in my mind, it was funny. And someone recognized my voice and was like, Mikey. And I hung up real quick because I was just randomly dialing numbers, and there,
Did you have to like make your number show up differently, or were there
This
no
does
caller IDs?
this didn't happen.
Okay.
Like this is like we're looking like 87, 88,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
So it was purely 100% just recognizing
just
your voice. You didn't disguise your voice at all?
I was in third grade. I mean,
yeah.
how deep can I make it go? I
That's
mean, there's
fair.
no way I'm going to sound like a grown man in the third grade.
It's a fairly innocent prank call, though.
Yes, but
that's kind of precious.
So that was a mistake I made. They called my mom. I got a talking to and in trouble. And so, yeah, that was something that I think is funny now.
I have never participated in prank calling personally. I have been in some social situations where I've had some friends prank call, and I was so uncomfortable the whole time, just like in the corner, like biting my nails, like we're gonna get caught, we're gonna get in trouble, this is awful. So I kind of admire the gumption a little bit.
I mean, it was fun. I was just bored, and that's what I chose to fill my time with.
I love that so much.
So we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna look at the idea of redemption, but we're first gonna look at it in the Old Testament context, looking at the story of Ruth and Naomi and Boaz, the kinsman redeemer,
which we have done a full episode before on the book of Ruth and all of these great characters that are in that book. So we'll have the link included in the description if you're interested to go check out that one. But don't leave us yet. Check it out when you're done with this episode.
Yes. And so, because we didn't spend a whole lot of time on what that actually meant, like Boaz's role. So he was the kinsman redeemer. So this is basically a close relative who has the right and responsibility to redeem a family member's property, preserve the family line, and protect vulnerable relatives. That's kind of what he did. If someone got into a pinch or needed something, this was the person that would come and redeem it and set things right. In Ruth's case, Boaz redeems the land that belonged to, Elimelech, Naomi's late husband, and marries Ruth, ensuring that the family line was going to continue. And his role showed how God's provision and care through through family responsibility, and it foreshadows Christ, who is our ultimate redeemer, restoring us and bringing us into God's family and providing hope for the future. So that's kind of what that role was. And, fun fact, that's at the end of the story, it kind of ends with one of those cool little things where you realize their son was Obed, who was David's father, and that was the line that Christ came from. So pretty cool little ending there in that story. So protect family property. So in this context, we're going to look at what it looked like for the land of Israel in the story of Boaz and Ruth, and then ultimately how Christ. So we're going to look at that role of redemption in those three lanes. So protecting family property. In Israel, if a man fell into poverty and had to sell his land, the kinsman redeemer could buy it back to keep it in the family. That's in Leviticus 25:25, Boaz and Ruth. In that context, Boaz redeemed, how did we say it? Elimelech's land so Naomi's family line wouldn't be erased. And with Christ, Jesus redeems us from sin and death, restoring what was lost so we can inherit God's kingdom.
I love that.
So that's what that kind of looks like, preserving the family line. In Israel, a redeemer could marry a childless widow to carry on the deceased's relative's name. You can Deuteronomy 25:5-6. In the story of Boaz and Ruth, Boaz marries Ruth, and their son Obed continues Elimelech's line, eventually leading to David and generations later, Jesus. Christ.
So cool.
Yeah. And for Jesus brings us into God's family, making us heirs with him. And that scripture is Romans 8:17. Like we might put these up.
Yeah.
Rescuing from slavery and debt. In Israel, if someone was enslaved due to debt, a redeemer could buy them back. Leviticus 25:47-49. Boaz and Ruth's story, though not about slavery, Boaz's redemption rescues Ruth and Naomi from poverty and hopelessness.
Like serious poverty,
no,
too.
like they were just on their own.
They were just trying their best to grab extras while people were harvesting. in other fields, which was, a beautiful thing that the society had in place where widows could come behind
Yes.
and gather grain, but it was not a comfortable way to exist.
No, as people were going out and harvesting, if anything was dropped, they weren't supposed to pick it up, and they also weren't supposed to hit the corners of the fields. That's called gleaning.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing in the story.
Yeah.
Whenever Boaz took notice and was like, "Who's that foxy? Who's that foxy gal out
She's
there?"
kind of cute.
And so, in Jesus' case, Jesus redeems us from slavery to sin by paying the price with his blood. And that's Mark 10:45 or 1 Peter 1:18-19.
I think that's one, overall, there's so many reasons that I love the story of Ruth. The book itself is an easy read. It's very quick. I think it's really interesting to see. I won't go too far into it because we have a whole episode about it, but I think it's interesting to see the perspective of Ruth, who was not an Israelite, but was so dedicated. She was a Moabite. She was so dedicated to her family that she was willing to leave everything that she knew and focus her care and love and compassion to Naomi, and so she wouldn't be alone. But overall, across the board, the thing that I love about the book of Ruth the most is the way that we can see pictures of what Jesus came and did for us in what Boaz is able to do for Ruth and Naomi as well. It's really beautiful.
And the way that he brought her into, she was an outsider. She was brought into the fold in the same way that Jesus' sacrifice did that for the Gentiles as well.
Yeah.
Being able to graft us all in and redeem us and bring us into something.
Yeah.
That we were that we were separate of.
So cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
So that's kind of what that looks like in that story.
I'm going to talk about a different story, and we're also kind of shifting gears a little bit with the idea of redemption right now to showing the redemption that we've received from Jesus to other people. So this is, Ruth and that idea of being redeemed from a kinsman family redeemer is a great picture of Christ, but now this is not coming into us inward, it's an outward focus offer of redemption. So I'm going to be talking about the story of Joseph. This would be the Joseph in the Bible who is often referred to as Joseph with the coat of many colors. And his story is found in Genesis. It starts in 37 and it goes to 50. One of the most soap opera style. There's a lot of soap opera style stories in the Old Testament, but this one in particular just really reads like the classic grandmother, I'm watching my stories,
Yes.
that kind of soap opera. It's intense. So I'm going to break down kind of quickly the actual storyline, because we've talked about Joseph several times on this podcast, so I don't want to hang out here too much, but it's interesting. So definitely read it yourself. It reads like a very interesting book. So Joseph, he is his father Jacob's favorite son. He receives a special robe, which we often call the coat of many colors, because it was made out of beautiful multicolored fabric that obviously would have been very expensive to get back in their day. He receives this beautiful coat from his father, and that really ticked his brothers off and made them super jealous. They already were jealous of him before because he was the chosen favorite son, but they're really heated now. Then he ups the ante a little bit because he has dreams. And I won't go in depth into his dreams, but the idea is these dreams suggested that he would end up ruling over his family, and that really increased their resentment towards him. Picture your younger sibling, if you have a younger sibling, coming up out of bed one night and saying, "Oh, good morning. I just dreamt that I was going to rule over you." I'd be pretty upset too. So
most younger siblings are pompous anyway, because
I am the younger sibling.
they always get what they want. They're the baby. They lord it over everybody because most of them know it.
Anyways.
Don't that little.
No, the babies have their own plights too. No, it's kind of true.
Their own plights.
I don't actually. He wasn't like the baby. He was just the favorite. I am
Yes.
the baby. So they're really mad at Joseph now. His brothers began to plot against him. They wanted to kill him at first, but they decided to take it down a notch thanks to Reuben, a brother who was actually a little bit on his side. And they sold him into slavery, which is not great. Like, not that much better, but at least they didn't kill him. They ended up telling their father that he was dead, though, which I'm sure was awful, horrible. So he's sold into slavery. In this, he ends up moved to Egypt. And in Egypt, Joseph faced hardship after hardship, particularly assault, false accusations in the midst of the assault, and being imprisoned by people more powerful than him, who were placing these false accusations on him. But he is eventually able to kind of get out of prison, rise up the ranks a little bit, because he's a very wise person who trusts God completely, and in that he's given some really cool opportunities, particularly to interpret the Pharaoh's dreams, where he predicted 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. So when that famine that he predicts, based on Pharaoh's dreams, when that famine shows up, Joseph's brothers actually come from where they are living, where he was sold into slavery, all the way to Egypt looking for food, because they hear that this region has food available for people. And they didn't even recognize him when they showed up, because it had been so long. But Joseph, he didn't reveal himself right away. He tests their character a little bit. He sees that they have changed as people. And then he ends up revealing his identity to them, completely forgiving him, and he gets to reunite with his father Jacob. So this story closes with some intense reconciliation, that's just beautiful to see, and particularly Joseph's offer of redemption to his brothers, because he doesn't just say, I forgive you. He provides them assurance that what he has experienced at their hand has actually brought something beautiful. So I'm going to read Genesis 50, picking up in verse 19. But Joseph said to them, don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children. And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them, which I can't think of a better example. I'm sure there are quite a lot to pull from, but this one in particular, when I think of showing redemption to other people, this is a beautiful example of someone putting aside a lot of pain, an intense amount of pain that many of us won't ever have to experience that amount of pain, and not just washing his hands of it and saying, yes, I forgive them, but actually wanting more for them and encouraging them that what they did in the first place was a positive, because it brought about all of this good. So
No, it really shows what God can do in a situation when there's at least one person willing to submit it to them.
yeah,
And Joseph did that here. Like, he could have, it definitely could have gone a different way, but he allowed the Holy Spirit and God to use him to take a really awful scenario
yeah,
and do something amazing with it and redeem it and make good come from it.
yeah,
And so I love that story.
beautiful.
So we're going to pick up on the back half of this clip right here.
I think this is a common response when we've experienced the rescue that Jesus offers. We just want to stay close to him. We want to keep feeling all of the safety and restoration and freedom that he's offered us. We want to live in that moment forever, because encountering Jesus has changed us. It's the logical conclusion that if we can just keep encountering Jesus over and over again, that we'll maintain that feeling of rescue forever. This seems like a good response, the right response. But Jesus has something to say about the man's request to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. Jesus says no. He doesn't let the man come with him. Instead, he commissions him to go to his own people and tell them how Jesus has changed his life. The man does what Jesus commands him to do, and all the people were amazed. This is a third response to experiencing Jesus' rescue. We can choose to reject it and just ask Jesus to leave, like the townspeople. We can accept it and stay with Jesus, like the man who'd been possessed wanted to do. Or we can join Jesus in his work of rescue and redemption by telling our stories to our people. This third way, this is the way of Jesus. Unfortunately, I think too many people, they miss it, and they don't even know it. Once they encounter Jesus and accept his grace, they think they've arrived and their journey ends. They either just go on with their lives as normal, or they keep circling in that same spot with Jesus forever, when what Jesus really wants to do is send them out to be part of what he's doing.
You know, the line that jumps out to me is, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." You know, that person's life had been redeemed, and he had been brought back and restored. And, you know, that is really what we are called to do, is to go out and use God's example in our own lives.
Yeah.
And be willing to share it. And it can be a very scary thing. It can be a very vulnerable thing to do.
Yeah.
To tell people how God has been at work in your life. Especially depending upon what the circumstances were that you had to submit to him.
Yeah. It
And
can be
so
pretty terrifying.
That's going to be kind of what we look at here.
Yeah.
So for me, there's three big ways that God has really worked in my life. And one is redeeming my identity. You know, I've struggled with rooting my identity in God. I've mentioned that here just because of difficult family relationships, but that is something that God is continually redeeming in me by reminding me that I'm his. And, you know, we talked about our beloved charter before. That might be something that some folks might want to do. I still read that on the reg whenever I get in my own head.
Yeah.
And have to remind myself that even if I don't believe it, I am in fact fearfully and wonderfully made. and so are you. And so are you out there listening to this.
Yeah.
And I'm not defined by my shortcomings.
Yeah.
And that can be a very difficult thing to sit down. But the more that you get used to doing that, the more that your identity can be redeemed, if that is something that you struggle with.
Love it.
Redeeming my pain into empathy and sympathy for others. I have struggles with shame and doubt, and those things don't have to be wasted. Like, that doesn't have to be wasted energy. God's redeemed them by giving me compassion for others that are on that same journey, and I'm able to use my story to help me write devotionals and guide conversations and walk with people that are going through kind of a similar thing. So that doesn't have to be a wasted thing, because you can take whatever your struggles are and if you continuously submit them to God, that you can use those as connecting points with other people.
Yeah.
And say, hey, like, I understand a little bit about what you're going through, and let me tell you how God has helped me with that, and let me tell you how I've laid those things at God's feet. And he's given me a calling, which is like, he redeemed my lack of purpose that I felt for a very long time. And he's used that to help me shape vision and coach others and help people in my church and here at PCC to discover the fullest life possible. And what could have felt like a wasted collection of experiences, God's really used them to form me into somebody that can help connect other people to him.
That's really
So
cool.
those are three kind of ways that I've seen the redemptive power
Nice.
of God in my own life.
Nice. I was kind of trying to narrow down in my mind what exactly I wanted to focus in on when I was sharing about some of the own redemption that I've experienced, and I can really relate to particularly the redeeming your pain into empathy, something that I can really relate to, but a little bit more specific in the lane of. We live in a broken world, and in a broken world, oftentimes our bodies and our brains don't do exactly what we want them to do, and it's not the healed and whole version of us that we will get to in eternity. But
Those
I
resurrection bodies are going to be something.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be sick. But I have some complex diagnoses that I've struggled with for quite a while, especially in my 20s. I've really wrestled with receiving these diagnoses and thinking back on my childhood and what I missed out on knowing about myself, and just the grieving process of my brain is not like everybody else's or most folks' brain. But what that has been redeemed into is an ability to relate to people who struggle to relate to other people well, particularly folks who are neurodivergent. Really struggle to see themselves in people who aren't neurodivergent. So to be able to be representative of the neurodivergent community at least a little bit while on staff at a church is a really an honor that I have been blessed with, and I think is absolutely worth some of the turmoil that comes with living with some fairly inconsistent mental health, and also being able to share with other people how I am able to cope and use my spiritual life to help me function at an even higher capacity than I would be able to function at if I didn't have God in my life. So that's been something that has been redeemed into something really beautiful. And then I think like the outward redemption that I have been able to offer to other people in my life. For a long time, I was really angry with my parents for deciding to homeschool my sister and I, and I had a lot of bitterness about all of the loneliness that I faced in my childhood, because for a good portion of my life, my only social outlet was youth group on Wednesday nights and church on Sunday mornings. And I have gotten to be able to come to a place where I can respect the fact that my parents made the decision that they knew was best for their family at the time. And I can now see the beauty in, again, being able to relate to people who can't relate to other people, folks who are homeschooled. I have a unique in with
Yeah.
people who had different childhoods than most folks, and I get to see the fact that you're never going to get it right as a parent. You're never going to get it 100% right. You can only try your best. And to be able to extend that to my parents as a thank you for at least being willing to try your best,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't quite what I felt like I needed at the time, you were the best parent that you could be. That has been something that has been very healing to be able to offer to someone else. And then finally, the last thing would be kind of the same thing to my first real big heartbreak, which was a very serious relationship that I was in that I thought was headed towards marriage. And in the breakdown of it, I was very upset and angry with him for a very long time for not following through with promises that he made and not treating me the way that I felt like I deserved to be treated. And now being on the other side of it, about you know 8 years later in a wonderful marriage, and just grateful for where I am in my life, being able to extend to this person the same love and grace and mercy that I've received from Christ in the midst of my mistakes, and being able to know 100% this relationship formed me for the positive in a lot of ways, even the stuff that I didn't like, because it helped me grow as a person once I was separated from you. Those are like kind of the main three ways that I've experienced some really beautiful redemption, or been able to show redemption that brings me closer to God.
And I love that you've been able to separate some of the emotions from it
Mm,
and then say, God, okay. Like, and that's a very difficult thing to do.
it is.
I mean, because I'm speaking as a very emotionally driven person.
Yeah,
um
same.
I it takes me usually I have to feel something really fast and really hard, and sometimes for a minute
Same.
before I can say okay, like before I can check that and then say okay.
Yeah.
God, what can I do with this?
Mm,
Like, what are some things that I can learn from this? What are some things that I can take from this bad thing that happened or these negative experiences that I've had, and use them to help connect? And how can I use those to connect with other people who may be going through a similar thing?
yeah.
And that can really usually only be done whenever you actually spend some time in that uncomfortable, yucky space looking at whatever the thing was.
Yeah. Yep. And sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes the good that comes out of a situation that redeems it isn't even landing in a spot where, like, you can see all of the wonderful things that sometimes it's just, oh, because it really sucked, you had to form a greater reliance on God. And
Yes.
that's the good that came from it. And that's
Yes.
a fully redeemed situation.
And that can be something that you can use to help someone else down the road
Yep.
by just talking to them and saying, listen, I hear you. That really sucks. I went
Yeah.
through something similar, and here is how I was able to grow as a result of it. Or here is what I had to do in there
Yeah.
to make peace with it.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And it's not always pretty. Most of the things that are good down the road aren't pretty in the moment.
And it takes a long time to get there.
Yes. And so a couple of things that might be helpful to do
Yeah.
out of this. I jotted down a couple here. We can just kind of go back and forth on these.
Yeah.
Sometimes it requires you forgiving someone.
Yeah. Which is hard, but worth it.
Identify the person that you've been holding a bitterness towards.
You know who it is.
You know who it is. Like you probably got hit here in the feels whenever I first said forgive someone.
Yep.
And take a step towards forgiveness. And that might just look like praying to God for the ability to forgive that person.
Yes.
Because you might not even be able to do it on your own. But if you go to God and say, Lord, I really do desire to forgive this person for whatever the thing is. I don't know if I'm pretty positive that I cannot do this on my own, but I know that with your Holy Spirit, I can do it. Would you please help me to begin the process of forgiving this person?
And if you're not even there yet, you could also consider just starting with the, God, will you change my heart so I do want to forgive this person?
Yes.
Like, if you're not there yet, he will help you get there to the
Yes.
point where you're ready.
But you have to acknowledge it
Yes.
and state it.
Yes.
And for me, it's helpful to do that type of thing out loud
Yeah.
and taste those bitter words in your mouth
Yep.
as you say them.
Yeah. Another thing that is
from experience.
from experience, yep. Another thing that you could do if this is something that's really kind of pulling on your heartstrings, and you would like to be made more mindful of the ways that God has redeemed you already, or even just be able to notice easier going forward the beauty that He brings from our brokenness. You could write a gratitude list, which is a great way to focus in on some of the things that would be really easy to like forget about, because if you're writing it down in a list, you'll be able to come back to it later when you maybe have forgotten
and
what you're processing.
And like my 8th grade teacher, Mr. Cotner, used to say, you remember things longer whenever you write them down.
Yes, there's something that is powerful about taking thoughts out of your head and either speaking them out loud or writing them down somewhere. So this particular gratitude list, if you kind of focused in on naming specific ways that God has redeemed your life through past struggles that he's carried you through, forgiveness that you've received from other people, maybe ways that he's provided for you in the middle of maybe not deserving his provision and his guidance and his love, anything that you're able to think through. This was a really sucky time in my life, and this was my experience in the midst of it all through what God showed to me. That will help you see where he was present, and then the more that you dwell on it, kind of the more I don't quite know how to put it into words, but the more that you spend time thinking about how you were grateful for God's presence, the more he will reveal to you the positives that were there all along that maybe you weren't aware of yet.
No, and then the last one would probably be share your story.
Mm.
Like find a place where people have gone through something similar that you went through,
Mm.
and then find a place where you can actually talk about it.
Yeah. Because not only does that help you, but that helps the people around you,
Yes.
which continues your redemption story.
Yes, and so those are just a couple go-dos that we thought would be helpful coming out of this conversation. So,
Yeah.
I think that's a good spot to land it.
Yeah, this is a good episode. Oh, check out the episode on the Book of Ruth. We'll
Yes.
have the link down in the description. It's definitely worth a watch.
And if you fill out the
Survey.
survey down there in the show notes,
We
will
both have
We both got
mugs.
mugs today. We remembered,
Yay.
and we will send you an After Chat mug.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for joining us for this episode of the After Chat.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for The After Chat. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To be the first to hear our next episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button and get notifications for new content. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram at PCC Wired and Facebook at Passion Community Church. For additional resources and links, check out the description. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on The After Chat.